Hello, thank you so much for stopping by our YouTube page right now and joining alongside the CEO and President of Porter Airlines, Robert Deluce. Robert, let's talk about the expansion of Billy Bishop Airport. Bring us up to date so far on what's happened and the plans moving forward.
Well, the airport is thriving. Obviously, we have some 19 destinations that we service from Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport. We're now up to 26 aircraft, some 1,400 team members, and I think we're really in the less than 7 years that we have been operating from this main hub here in downtown Toronto. We've established ourselves as being a very credible alternative to the other carriers that are out there.
Obviously, Porter Airlines would benefit greatly from an expansion, but talk about the benefits here to local residents and anyone flying into Toronto.
Well, I mean, there are many benefits. When we originally set about, establishing the airline, it was all about speed, convenience, and service. Obviously, the downtown location continues to offer certain advantages in terms of time savings. But today, I think, as much as anything else, we're considered to be a carrier that distinguishes itself as much because of the high levels of service as because of any other single aspect. And even in places where we don't fly through Toronto, I think we're viewed as being a carrier that, in fact, is providing a benchmark level of customer service that exceeds that which is generally delivered by other carriers.
When educating the general population about the expansion, what's the biggest misconception that's out there?
Well, I think in terms of the expansion itself, there's generally two myths. One, somehow the jets are noisy. And remember, the CS-100 aircraft is the quietest commercial jet in production. It's comparably quiet to the existing Q400s that we operate today. And really, it's an aircraft that's ideally suited to the urban environment here at Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport. So, you can't get technology that's any better than the CS-100. It's really a game changer. The second thing is, of course, that it is able to operate in and out of an airport like Billy Bishop with a very modest extension of 168 meters into the water at each end of the main runway. And with that modest extension and without that affecting in any way the enjoyment of the waterfront by boaters, these aircraft will be able to operate nonstop out to Vancouver, to LA, anywhere in the Florida area or the Caribbean. So in many respects, it really will open up a lot of additional destinations, all delivered up with the same high level of customer satisfaction and service, and of course at the same affordable pricing that passengers have become used to.
What's the feedback you've heard from local residents within the area and from city council members as well?
Well, I think residents are warming up to the idea. I think those who are in the condos actually look forward to the additional destinations at the affordable pricing. The city itself will benefit. There will be 1,000 additional jobs, and that's pretty meaningful. Just less than a year ago, a third-party economic impact study by InterVistas was completed that spoke to some $2 billion of economic impact, clearly another 1,000 jobs, and the additional aircraft that will come through Bombardier will only add to the benefit to the city. And of course, the traveling public will definitely appreciate the additional destinations, again, delivered with a high level of customer service and at good affordable pricing.
How much could a competitor, Porter Airlines, become to those against perhaps Air Canada or whether it be WestJet, and more people coming to the island airport for service, whether it be going to Vancouver eventually, obviously that city being in your plans, down south to Las Vegas, LA, or Florida? How much of a game changer could the expansion be for you guys?
Well, the one thing that we have found is that in every single destination that we've gone into since day one, the average base fare has generally fallen by up to 60%, and in some cases even a bit more. So that means that the others that are serving the same markets as we are serving end up adjusting accordingly, and passengers, whether they're flying from Billy Bishop or from other airports in the area, all benefit as a result of that more affordable pricing. That's the one thing. The second thing I think I'd like to talk about, and that's the fact that everyone knows that there's been extensive leakage across the border to places like Buffalo. If somebody's heading down to Florida with 4 family members, you think twice about paying some of those higher fares that generally are attributed to Pearson, and maybe you might even think about driving to Buffalo. I think in our case we'll introduce some additional competition, which will be good not only for the business traveler but for those who travel on leisure, and I think there'll be a lot less of that leakage across the border to places like Buffalo in the future.
Just a couple of short questions before we let you go. One of the concerns that we're hearing about is air pollution and noise levels within the general area. What would you say to anyone that has concerns in those two particular areas?
Well, I would say, firstly, with respect to the CS100, it is a revolutionary piece of technology. When it comes to noise, it is comparably quiet to the Q400. It's the quietest commercial jet in production, and in fact it's 4 times quieter than any other jet in its class, so that really does establish sort of new benchmarks against which other aircraft will definitely be measured in the future. In terms of pollution, emissions, because it burns about 20% less fuel than any other jet in its class, that means it's actually producing about 20% less carbon, and additionally, the overall emission rate is about 50% less than any other jet in its class, and so those two things by themselves are real game changers. That, coupled with the fact that generally it's thought to be about 4 times quieter than any other comparable sized piece of equipment or aircraft, make it a real game changer. So it is something that no one could have contemplated 30 years ago when the tripartite agreement went into effect, and it certainly wasn't even within our contemplation 10 years ago when we were getting ready to move forward with Porter. We've been in operation not quite 7 years, but when we looked around for aircraft 7 years ago, the very best aircraft that was available was the Q400. There wasn't a CS100 out there. Today, not only do we have a great turboprop, but we potentially, with the right approvals in place, will have a very good jet aircraft capable of taking us out a little bit further, but again, with the same consideration for the environment and for our neighbors.
Just before we let you go, one last question. Of course, the expansion pending approval from Toronto City Council, the Toronto Port Authority, and the federal government. Where do we sit right now with those 3 parties?
Well, we have gone through 2 different executive committees, and I think generally there was good reception there. Staff have been working on verifying certain information about the aircraft and about the runway and the marine exclusion zone buoys and the environment and whatnot, and they still have some work to do. They've done some very good work to date. They have some very good consultants in place. Obviously, there are peer reviews that are going on now with respect to all the data. I think over the next number of months that will continue. We are hopeful that either in September or October this will come back to executive committee again, and hopefully by sometime in October or November it will reach council for some sort of a final determination. And we're certainly hopeful that the benefits to the City of Toronto and to the traveling public will be instrumental in helping those 44 councillors plus the mayor come to a good decision that in fact allows the CS100 to move forward.
President, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to be part of this.
Pleasure chatting with you as well. Robert Deluce, the CEO and President of Porter Airlines.